Hey, welcome to Q&A, where you ask your questions on faith and life, and I do my best to give a biblical perspective. So let's jump into today's question. Let me bring it up here. Why does it seem so much easier to drift away from God rather than towards Him? That's a fair question, because it is true. It's naturally we gravitate away from God rather than towards Him. It's the way of the world, isn't it? Things run down rather than wind up, so to speak. So it's just natural that if we don't do something intentional, we're going to drift away from God rather than towards Him. And it happens for a variety of reasons. Complacency, busyness. We develop bad habits. It's just one Sunday I've missed, or it's just another. I didn't read the Bible. That doesn't matter. And we begin to excuse or to justify little things, and those little things become the pattern. And before we know it, we're no longer where we were. We've lost that sense of intimacy, that sense of joy, that sense of expectancy, that sense of desire, and on it goes. I think of Hebrews chapter 2, verse 1, which talks about how that we must listen carefully or pay careful attention to the truth that we've read in Scripture, or to the truth that we've heard, lest we drift away from it. In other words, there's very much an awareness in Scripture that unless we pay attention and continually to engage with our faith, we will drift. Left to our own devices, we will drift away rather than to God if we don't pay attention to our faith. I think of, if you're familiar with C.S. Lewis's books, the Screw Tape Letters, in which there's a series of letters that C.S. Lewis wrote, imagining if he was trying to instruct a new demon how to lead people away from faith. This is what the letters are about. Screw Tape. Screw Tape is senior, might call him senior demon. He's instructing this young new recruit called Wormwood about how to effectively cause someone to drift from their faith, to abandon their belief, to undermine their confidence in Scripture. I've got a quote that on my computer here. Let me bring it up. I should have done this earlier when I went online. Here it goes. And this is some advice he gives them. You will say that these are very small sins. He's giving an account of what he's been doing that week. You may say these are very small sins, and doubtless, like all young tempters, you're anxious to be able to report spectacular wickedness. But listen to how the seasoned campaigner, this experienced demon, goes on. But do remember, the whole thing that matters is the extent to which you separate the man from the enemy, which in this context is God. The devil sees God as enemy, of course. It does not matter how small the sins are, provided that their cumulative effect is to edge the man away from the light and out into the nothing. Murder is no better than cards, if cards can do the trick. Indeed, the safest road to hell is the gradual one, the gentle slope, soft underfoot, without sudden turnings, without milestones, without signposts. In other words, just gradually introducing things that distract people from their faith, from their desires to pursue God. Just start as little things, and these little things just build up over time. And as you say, we drift from God. And as I say, people do it for a number of reasons. There's no one size fits all, but essentially at its heart, it has to do with familiarity, with complacency. For many people, there's that old saying, familiarity breeds contempt. In other words, you're so familiar with the Scriptures, you stop engaging it, you stop reading. I know what's going to come. I've read that. I know that. And we become complacent instead of guarding our hearts and continually letting it speak to us and us paying attention to it. We drift. I already know this. I don't need to study this. I don't need to read that. I don't need to pray in the way that I did before because I've been doing it for 40 years type thing. That's what is happening. And this is what the Screw Tape Letter is about, just becoming familiar and just separating them out just a little bit at a time. I don't need to do it today. I can do it tomorrow. Oh, it's just one Sunday I've missed. Oh, it's just one week that I haven't read the Bible. And it just builds up. Another reason people drift, of course, is disappointments, discouragement. It just feels like God hasn't answered them. God's not listening. God's inattentive. Unmet needs, unfulfilled dreams. And these begin to build up in our life, and we become a little bit resentful, a little bit discouraged. And of course, when you're discouraged, you don't pursue pursue things, do you? If you've been hurt in a relationship, you don't willingly jump up and think, oh wow, I just can't wait to have another conversation, can't wait to see them again. You're a little bit hesitant and you're a little bit wary. And it's the same with our relationship with God. And so unmet needs, these things become can actually cause us to drift. It's the natural progression of things. It's the entropy. Things wind down. So left to our own devices, we drift from God rather than to God. And again, that's why it says to pay careful attention to what we read, to what we hear in the scriptures, or else we'll drift away. That's the only antidote really to complacency, to disappointments, to hurts, is to continually say, how does my life align with this? What do I need to do with this? Because that keeps the passion, that keeps the excitement, it keeps the intimacy with God alive as you discover new things, as you cultivate hearing his voice and growing in that sense of connection with God. So yeah, that would be those are some thoughts off the top of my head. I'll love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. But hey, as always, if you've got questions on faith and life, jump over to slido.com, use the hashtag askhamish. I'd love to hear from you. But we're going to call it a day for now. Until next time, God bless.